I'm Mr. Beat, and this is another episode of 10 Questions. If you don't know what 10 questions are, it's basically an interview format, but both sides are interviewing each other. And so I will be interviewing our special guest today. They will be interviewing me, and we've both come up with 10 questions separately. We have no idea what the questions are. They're open-ended questions, hopefully that will lead to a wonderful conversation. I'm not really afraid of that this time because my guest is somebody that I'm very familiar with already because I watch pretty much all his videos. My guest is Kyle from Geography King. Geography King is a channel mostly about American geography. But I would say, like, first of all, subscribe. But I would say, like, it's a special type of geography where there's a lot of emphasis on just looking at desirable and undesirable characteristics of places, mostly in the United States, but sometimes he'll look elsewhere. And this is stuff that I do for fun on my own anyway. And so when I first came across this channel, I was like, this is built for me. So I'm one of those dorks that he caters to. Anyway, without further I don't want to say without further ado because that's like cliche. So without wasting any more time, welcome to 10 Questions, Kyle from Geography King, the Geography King.
Hey, thanks for having me here. I appreciate it. Hope you guys are doing well out there.
I think they are. There's a lot of your fans in the chat here. Yeah, howdy there. It's Kyle.
Yeah.
Howdy's your I don't say howdy very often, but it's a great word.
Yeah, that's something I say. That's not just a tagline. I always just greet people with howdy on the street. So that's kind of how it became the tagline.
Yeah. Maybe give a little bit more background about yourself maybe stuff that I forgot to include. Like, what else should everybody know about you and your channel?
It started off just about road tripping because I'm from the West Coast. I live back east now in Tennessee, and I just have driven cross country so many times, and that's how the channel started. But then there's kind of a finite number of routes you can talk about with road tripping. There's only so many ways you can talk about I-20 across the country. So I started doing more geography content, and it's much more popular. I mean, I wasn't just going for the more views, but I went more towards just actual geography, and less travel stuff as it used to be.
Yeah, but you do like to travel, which
yeah, that is my thing for sure.
They complement each other well. I find that if somebody's really into geography, they probably also love to travel because, like, just experiencing as much of the world as we can. It's just, it's like somebody who's a fan, I think, of your channel is probably somebody who's like has a bucket list of places to visit that's longer than the book. What is the book called? 5,000 Places to Visit.
Oh, yeah.
Like it. It's longer than what that book provides.
Yeah.
That's your typical viewer, I would say. And that's me. I love to get it away from home. And so we got somebody from the Faroe Islands. Heck yeah. It's good to see like random spots where people are from.
Really? Faroes, huh?
So yeah, the first question, I'll start us off, and it's a good kind of icebreaker anyway, because it's kind of expanding on what you just said. Why do you make videos? Like, why'd you start doing this?
Well, I got laid off from a job in 2016 and was kind of, what am I going to do? Tried this and that, but I was like, well, I'm good at geography. Do a lot of road tripping. There isn't, at that time, 2016, 2017, there really wasn't that much good road tripping or good geography kind of stuff. So it's like, well, I can do this. And just something I thought that it would just be just something to keep me entertaining myself, because I was doing the kind of stuff at home for fun, just going over census data and just keeping spreadsheets. So
all that yummy, delicious census data. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I was like, well, I'll make videos out of it. And it just became to the point where I can focus on YouTube. And, but yeah, it just started from boredom, honestly, just from I needed something to do and try to focus on something I was good at.
So were you the type of kid like me that would just, look up random geography facts and stare at maps and
Yeah, yeah. I started off when as a little kid just reading maps. I remember when I was probably 5 years old, I had the old fold out city map of the town we moved to, and I would be on my belly reading this map spread out on the floor. I just memorized all the streets, and then so my parents were driving around town, and I'd be giving them directions from the back seat, like turn right, like it's a 5-year-old, 6-year-old kid in the back. So yeah, I just always was, for whatever reason, just turned on to maps and also cars. So it was just kind of a weird thing. I was always playing with cars, looking at maps, driving the car on the maps. And then for me to be so into road tripping now, it's almost like it was meant to be type thing. So, but yeah,
great.
that's so fun to be doing what I love.
But yeah, you're like, what kind of editing software do you use? It's probably
I use, it's called Vegas.
oh yeah, Sony Vegas. Yeah.
I don't know how to do much with it. I've could probably spend a year looking at it and not figure half of it out, but I don't think I need most of, excuse me, most of what it can do. I'm not looking to do Hollywood type effects, but I use PC. I think most people on YouTube use Apple, but I'm a gamer, so I need to have a PC. I don't think you have as many options. For whatever reason, I think most of the creators use Mac. You use Apple?
Yeah, I use Final Cut Pro mostly, but DaVinci Resolve apparently is free. There's another option for PC, but what you're doing works. I mean, because it's mainly your storytelling and your personality and just your the wealth of knowledge. Like it's packed with knowledge. It's almost to a point where like you have to go back several times. Like, what? Really? Like your counties video you just released a few days ago. I had no idea that there were counties that were separated, and there were like something as simple as that. Yeah.
Just weird things I just keep track of for just in my head. I have so many ideas for videos. I think I have my spreadsheet's probably over 100 topics. I'll never get to most of them. Doing one a week, but I do make a video, come up with 2 new ideas, and then. But yeah,
I'm over 1,000 at this point. I can feel you there. There's just too much. Well, then it gets mad because like years ago, I was like really excited to make a video about why nobody lived in Wyoming, and this was like 2014 or something. And I was like, that video would do really well. And then I forgot about it. And then like last year, I was like, oh, I'm finally going to do this. And then all of a sudden, like 20 videos came out, all saying why nobody lives in Wyoming, and all 20 of them did well. So like it's
with the same thumbnail.
Yeah, I bet you, and I bet a lot of your ideas, same thing, right? Like you see, like
a lot of those channels kind of they're not really channels that are people that are into geography or whatever they're doing. They're kind of looking around YouTube, seeing this channel did really well with that video. I'm going to do one similar, and they often have really generic names like something cool or the way it was, or just like these really generic names, so they can kind of switch what they're talking about at any moment.
I'm sorry. This is getting spicy early on. A little bit of gossip here. I do not like those channels. Like From Here to There is one of those channels that keeps getting recommended to me, and I'm sure the person is nice, but it's like
it's AI channel.
Yeah. AI could create that. Yeah. If AI can create it, I'm not going to watch it. And then also, copycat channel, real life lore. So many people just straight up rip off real life lore. He figured out a formula that works with geography videos.
He invented the infographic geography, and then everybody's like, well, I can do that too. And it's worked for a lot of them.
Yeah, it really has. Well, sometimes you got to do it too, I guess. You got to pay the bills now. Doing it full time now. So, all right. Sorry. So, what's your first question for me?
All right, so you were a teacher up until a couple years ago, full time, but you were also, by the end of that, you were already a pretty well-known YouTuber. So you were kind of a little bit of a celebrity while being a teacher at the same time. Was there ever any kind of awkwardness or any kind of weird conflict with that?
You know, what's funny is that the majority of my students couldn't care less about my internet fame. I would like the last 2 or 3 years that I taught, I did have at least probably 1 to 2 students per class that thought it was cool, and we would talk YouTube stuff because they were deep into that world, you know. But it's amazing how many teenagers aren't really into YouTube. Actually, I would just assume that they all were, but a lot of them, you know, they prefer TikTok or Instagram, and if they watch longer form content, it's on Netflix or something.
Yeah.
And so I guess that was something that was like, oh, I just assumed. But actually, at the same time, yeah, YouTube continues to grow. It continues to kind of eat into that market share for Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime, all the other stuff. So like, maybe if I was teaching now, like I went back to a classroom just last week on election day to be a guest speaker for talk about ranked choice voting. And, you know, half the kids were aware of me. So maybe it would be different now, I guess. Cause like my channel wasn't that big when I left teaching. It was probably, oh gosh, I probably had about a half a million subscribers, but really it's about the views. People fixate so much on the subscribers. It's like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you and I, it's good that we have evergreen content because, you know, we can make a video and then in 10 years, it could still be getting views.
Yeah. I have a few that are outdated, but not many.
I was going to say the information usually holds up pretty well. So that's really, I think, kind of the advantage of doing educational content a lot of times. And like, because people are just like, they always like, well, when can I do it full time? And those views have to be consistent. Like you at least have to have a handful of videos that will consistently get views for the next several years. Like you can't be chasing trends.
Yeah, I have 2 on the back burner that like keep the channel going essentially.
Really?
Like 2 multi-million videos that just do. I mean, that's a good chunk of the views.
Which ones are they? Do you?
One is 16 oddities of the U.S. and one is the emptiest parts of the U.S.
Yeah.
Those came out back to back right about 2019. Those are the ones that kind of had the channel take off.
Mm-hmm. Jerry Ford's here. Thank you, Jerry. What if Reagan chose Ford as a running mate in 1980? I don't know if Kyle has an opinion on this. You don't have to share if you have no idea, but I would say that the outcome would have been the same. I think Ford had a lot of similarities to George H.W. Bush. And so, yeah, Ford, I don't think was particularly unlikable. He just happened to make a few more mistakes than Carter did, I think, in 1976. Any opinion on that?
I don't know enough about specifics of Ford, but yeah, from what I understand, for 1980, Reagan could have picked anybody and would have won.
Yes, pretty much. Yeah. Are we about the same age? I wonder if we are.
I'm 46.
Okay, I'm 42.
You got to be younger than I am.
42. Yeah. So, what was the first election that you remember, like as a kid? Was it 84 or?
I don't remember 84 as terms of like being invested. I remember 88 more just from spoofs, like Saturday Night Live in 88, making fun of George Bush and
Dana Carvey playing.
Caucus. Yeah. But I was never really into, I vote, but I've never really been gung ho about things. I'm almost like vote like, yeah, oh God, I gotta mark something.
I remember that video you released where you ranted about politics because you were getting frustrated that people were always making it political, like just basic geography facts, and people were trying to.
Yeah, that's frustrating.
All right, cool. So moving along to our second question, it's gonna take it up a notch here. What is your ideal place to live? I know it's different for everyone, but
specifically or in general?
Both. Yeah, why not both?
I mean, for me, a almost the main thing would be mild winters. That's my kryptonite. Is I can't do cold. I need to be outside a lot. So like today, I was just before here, I was on a hike for a few miles. I just need to be able to do that every day. So if it gets really cold, I'd have a hard time with that. I mean, I could snowshoe hike, I suppose, but so I like the Western U.S. in general because I like dry climates and I like a lot of geology, a lot of mountains and wilderness. And because I like mild winters, I like the Southwest. And so New Mexico I've mentioned it many times on my channel that I like New Mexico for the kind of the weird aspects of the culture. It's just very multi-ethnic in a way that nowhere else in the U.S. is. And
dang it, you already answered one of my other questions.
Oh, sorry.
Why is your favorite state New Mexico?
Oh, well.
I'll think of another one. Don't worry.
Okay, well. Yeah, but yes, all of those things right there. I'm ruining your live stream right at the beginning.
No, you're not.
But yeah, so the Southwest in general. I mean, also like Southern Utah. Just that I love being able to go a short distance and be very far from society. Not that I'm a misanthrope. I love being in a city, but I need that wilderness nearby. And also a real small thing. It's a big thing for me, but the night sky. I love to be able to see pitch black night sky and a bunch of stars. So that's kind of a Western thing as well. So in general, the Southwest specifically, I like Santa Fe, but it's really expensive. It's one of those places like a lot of other places. If it's nice, it's gotten really expensive. But I like some of the smaller towns in New Mexico as well. I also like in California where I'm from, I like the part of the coast between the Bay Area and LA. So Monterey, San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara. That kind of central coast area. And for the Southeast, I like Charleston, South Carolina, and just kind of South Carolina in general is my favorite southern state.
But you're in Tennessee, which has some of those characteristics, many of those.
It does. Yeah. No beach. I like the beach too. If I could be super picky, I want everything, but we don't have the ocean here, but yeah, it's nice here for outdoor because I was able to just drive a few miles and be able to walk several miles in a wooded setting, just even though it was downtown Chattanooga.
Yeah, and you're really not too far from the beach. Like a day's drive, you could drive to the beach in a day.
Oh yeah, I mean, a lot of people drive from here to the Florida Panhandle, the Gulf Coast. They call it the Redneck Riviera. The same distance as Savannah and Charleston, which I think is nicer with the Sea Islands and a little bit, I don't know, it's a little more our speed to go those kind of beaches as opposed to the, keg stands and funnels on the,
college kids.
Sand. Yeah, those kind of party beaches. Those days were fun, but they're gone.
Speaking of college kids, to answer the question myself, is my ideal place to live is a college town. I actually came up with a list of ideal places to live way back when I wasn't sleeping at all because my oldest daughter was just born and she wasn't sleeping. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to do this I literally remember at 2 a.m. in the morning, and I was looking at different data points, like different, like weird things that geared towards my taste. Like I like to have a lot of coffee shops where I live. I like to have lots of bike trails and stuff like that. But the thing about college town, like there's been several videos about this recently, but it's the big city amenities mixed with the small town charm, as they say. So you got, you have a lot of the mixed development as well. A lot of new urbanists will like where you have, compact parts of the city where you don't have to travel that far to get to a lot. And I happen to live in a college town. Actually, shout out to, there's actually a big football game going on that we didn't know it was going to be scheduled at the same time of this live stream. So I'll be checking the K-State Kansas State game score here momentarily. But anyway, yeah, so we love it here in Lawrence, Kansas. And, the thing I wish we had, a lot of the stuff you mentioned, the great outdoors, obviously. Like, I wish we were closer to mountains. It sucks that we have to drive all the way to Colorado. Like that's an 8-hour drive for the nearest mountains. And we have the Ozarks, which are little mountains. That's 3 to 4 hour drive, but it's still, and then, what you mentioned with the light pollution. That's a big problem these days, like not being able to see the night sky anymore.
Yeah, that's a small thing, but I think it's important. I don't know. When you camp in the West and you're just open air camping because there's no mosquitoes, and it's just a whole different look when it's just pitch black and you see millions of stars. Or if it's a full moon, you may have to actually have sunglasses on to be sleeping outside at night because it's just so bright.
Yeah, that's crazy. And also, one of the other stuff that was on my list that like we don't think enough about air pollution, noise pollution, water pollution. Like we just assume that every city in the United States is the same in terms of quality. It's not. Like there are some cities where, like, I mean, obviously Flint, Michigan got a lot of attention years ago. There's other cities in Michigan that are worse than Flint.
And Jackson, Mississippi.
Oh yeah, Mississippi. I mean, just like, but also Minnesota. Has some of the best water in the country and the best air quality, and like, although the winters, you wouldn't do well with the winter.
No.
But I mean, stuff like that I think is not brought up enough, because we just assume like sometimes the grass really is greener on the other side. When I say that, though, what I mean is the air really is cleaner on the other side, and the water is. So it's,
I was thinking, I was talking to my wife the other day how, people talk about how cities are loud and suburbs are quieter and exurbs are quieter. We're kind of in an exurban setting, but from April to December, any time of the day, sun up to sun down, there's somebody either running a lawnmower or a leaf blower. You can always hear. So it's not the peace and quiet, even though we're kind of in the exurbs, because right now it's leaf blowers. So first thing in the morning, somebody will wake up, start blowing leaves, and then once they're done, somebody else has started. So you kind of want the quiet of the woods, but then it's still just almost as loud as cities anyway.
Yeah, a lot of things to consider, and that's why the best city to live in the United States of America is Charlottesville, Virginia. We'll leave it at that. That's my but that's just my personal taste. So, like,
All right.
All right. What's your second question? Oh, somebody give us the update of the score. K-State's up 7-0. Dang it. I'm rooting for Kansas. Sorry. Okay.
All right. So, a good segue about Kansas. When my channel was just about road tripping, I did a video, 10 most boring states to road trip through, and number 1 was Kansas.
Yep.
And so, so basically, sell me Kansas as a place to visit. Like if you're going to be, say, a couple visiting from overseas for the summer, they want 1 or 2 of those days to be in Kansas to see as much of the U.S. as possible. What do you have them do?
Well, I used to give my parents crap. I was like, why did you or our ancestors move to such a boring state? And, obviously it was agriculture is what brought my ancestors here. But my dad I always kind of borrow from what he says. He's like, it's one of the few places in the world where you get a big sky, wide open spaces. We don't have a lot of trees here, especially Western Kansas. Eastern Kansas kind of is basically like Missouri, but that there's something about a big sky, especially at night, or just, you go to a place like the Flint Hills or the Smoky Hills in Kansas where you truly get a feel of that, because the Flint Hills it looks exactly like Kansas did 1,000 years ago in that same spot. And it was never developed because the cattle ranchers came in and prevented the farmers from plowing the fields basically. And so the farmers went further west, skipped over the Flint Hills, which is just kind of south or kind of eastern Kansas a bit, but not to all the way east. Anyway, and so, as far as natural beauty, that's what I would say. There's obviously also history here that many historians say that the Civil War truly began in Kansas, specifically the city where I live, Lawrence, which was burned down to the ground twice. Yeah, and a lot
of shenanigans in northeastern Kansas in the 1860s and 1850s.
Yeah, you had the Free Staters and the also known as the Jayhawkers, which is where the University of Kansas gets its mascot name from. who were wanting Kansas to be a free state, and then you had the pro-slavery bushwhackers from Missouri who were voting illegally in elections in the 1850s to make Kansas a slave state. And so it did lead to violence. That's why they call it Bleeding Kansas. John Brown was part of that. He murdered people, and then he was a fugitive for many years before finally getting caught at Harper's Ferry. But I mean, you know, like Kansas also has a lot of proud history in terms of the cattle towns. Cow towns is what we call them. Wichita was a cow town, Dodge City, Atchison, Abilene, or mainly Abilene. I mix up Atchison and Abilene. But I don't know. There's a lot of people that don't get into that though. So I don't know how hard of a sell that would be, but it's hard. I mean, like, it depends on what people's interests are, but you'll find some random thing I'm sure that people will like the world's largest ball of twine or something. I don't know, which is here.
Yeah, the drive across Western Kansas, I was on. It wasn't I-70, it wasn't US 50. It was a state highway. I think it was. I want to say 96 I think that's the number I'm thinking of. But
Okay.
But either way, it went through Scott City, some really almost like ghost towns in the western part of the state. So I just thought it's a pretty boring drive, but it is for a little bit. It's very interesting, but after 4 or 5 hours of it, it's a little monotonous.
Yeah, no, it's that drive from Kansas City to Denver can be really monotonous. It's rough.
Actually, for a while, I stayed away from Kansas because I think it was back in the early 2010s. There was a thing with the Kansas State Troopers or Highway Patrol, whatever it was, just pulling people over with out-of-state plates. And it was getting pretty bad. So I was like, I'm not even going to go through there. They're just pulling people over for going like a mile an hour over. And it turned out it was one guy. It was one cop that was just sitting out there in far western Kansas pulling people over. Just
I wonder if it was the same guy that was pulling people over coming from Colorado with marijuana, because
it might have been
legal in Colorado.
The same guy. He got busted for something else, but it turned out he was the guy just giving a bunch of ridiculous tickets on I-70.
Jeez. I wanted to show you, before we move on to our third question, I just want to show you this for fun. I came across this when I just searched Geography King and Mr. Beat to see what was already out there. And I came across this gem. So I'm going to pull it up for you here.
With another installment of Examining Interesting Maps. Let's take a look at some interesting depictions of geography. Really, really bad and so ridiculous. Almost like war zone type activities going on.
Somebody made this.
So should we recreate them or like go with our existing,
So basically, I'll mute it here. They basically created Mii fighters. This is for like Smash Brothers or something.
Yeah.
Look at that. I got a little dress on. And they had us fight. I'll skip ahead. You can see us fighting. Somebody did this 2 years ago. And they turned it into an 18.5-minute video. So There you are with the hat. I have the sword.
I do have a cowboy hat. I do have a Mii. It looks nothing like that, though.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, Nintendo is what I normally play. Although I don't play Smash Brothers, though.
I used to be a gamer when I was a much younger man, but no, I did not see this coming. So anyway, I'll put the link in the description.
The things you'll find, because I appreciate you showing. This is pretty wild, but just people got time on their hands.
I don't remember who won. I'll leave it on a cliffhanger. There we go.
I don't think either one of them are very good based on looking at their playing ability. They don't look like they were ready for tournaments.
All right. Is it my turn? I think.
Yes.
I got to come up with a different question since that one question was already. So let's see, on the spot. Let's say you're into gaming. Like, what's your are you into sports and music, or what's your thing?
Music for sure. That's my second passion. Sports, the older I get, the less and less sports I'm interested in. So that helps. Like, I was into everything, and every few years, and one drops off, and I'm just. I
Yeah.
kind of got to the point with sport. I just don't have time to watch the games. It takes so long.
Yeah.
But-
Yep. That's me same. Although I still am a big football fan, but no, music is my big passion. You know, I have my president songs and my band and all that. So do you play any instruments or?
I used to play in a band, but it's been years. So I have a little bit of music, slight ability, but I'm more of a fan of music as opposed to a musician.
All right. So what's your favorite artist, band, genre?
I mean, my favorite artist would be Blue Oyster Cult and Steely Dan, which is always a little surprising because I have thousands of albums, probably 2,500 gigs of music, and I say Blue Oyster Cult, and they're like, really? What's wrong with you? I like indie rock in general, like weird stuff. I like the Pixies, Faith No More, Mr. Bungle, so a lot of kind of weird stuff like that. But also blues. When I was younger, I was in the high school jazz band, and an offshoot of some of the players in the band formed a blues band that we would play at bars and things as like kids, playing at speakeasies and stuff like that. But yeah, I've just lots of different genres. Punk I'm into, psychedelic stuff. I like King Gizzard, Lizard Wizard, Krungbin, some stuff like that.
Do you know that King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard has a song called Mr. Beat?
Really?
Yeah. I didn't know who they were. Like,
I have about 10 of their albums, and they have like 50. They come out with 4 a year. It's crazy how many they have.
Yeah, I think that's crazy that you haven't come across that song. It has 218,000 views. Here, I'll share the screen again.
Yeah, I don't know that one. It's either an old one or it's some of their albums. I'm not sure. I'm not a big fan of.
They're from Australia, right?
Yeah.
It's weird to see that. Once I missed a beat, only missed a beat. Mr. Beast. Yeah, this is the song. I don't know if they have a music video. This is just the actual song. But 218,000 views 6 years ago. Here they are performing it. Wait, what's this? What the heck is this? Okay. I think somebody sent me this before. It's just weird that they had a song like that. And I love indie rock as well. I worked for my college radio station and kind of never stopped being pretentious when it came to music. And I have another channel too, in case you want to check out. I have a video about the Pixies on. It's called The Beat Goes On. My other channel. So you might be interested in that. These are some of my other videos. I have videos on the Ramones, the Clash. I just released last month. Radiohead, Nirvana. Yeah, that's my other.
I like a lot of stuff like that as well.
The thing is, you probably already know about all that stuff. Oh, that's time to eat dinner.
How many?
But you're on. Hey, you're on. Okay, I don't think they realize that. Anyway, so I'm not eating dinner tonight. Okay, what's your third question for me?
Well, I got one about music, so I might as well kind of go with segues here.
Nice.
So you play, right? You're a guitarist?
Yes. Yes.
All right. So where is the question I had about? Yeah. So you're into indie rock, but who is somebody that people will be surprised to hear you're into, but also who is somebody that is really popular that you just can't stand?
Let me sing you the answer. No. That's a great question. I would say I'm really, really into this band from. I think they're from Oklahoma. They're oh gosh, I'm put on the spot now. I'm forgetting the name of the band because it's hold on, give me 2 seconds. can look up one. They're called Husbands. And I don't think anyone I know knows who they are, but I listen to them all the time. And I really am tempted. They don't play much around where I live, but I'm tempted to drive down to Oklahoma to watch them. There's a few bands like that. And I think it's kind of cool. Like, you know, because then when you do go to a show, you're just like, yeah, we're in our special, it's like a special secret club. And then you get mad when they get too big, you know, they're like, oh, playing larger venues, have to pay more for tickets and all this. I don't even go to big shows much anymore. We're going to Alt J coming up, but the only reason why we're going is that's Mrs. Beat's favorite band. So, or one of her favorite bands. And, but they're even too big. Usually it's like, I go to the local show that's like $10 and a dive bar, you know? And then of course I used to play shows a lot. So I kind of got burnt out for a while, but when I was younger, I went to a lot of shows and I was really into like trying to be the coolest person, try to find the most obscure band to tell my friends about. As far as like who's overrated, popular artist, most of them. I think even like technically the Beatles are overrated. But if you want to like say, I mean, I obviously am biased against mainstream artists, but I'm really proud of myself with Kanye West because I hated Kanye West because of his ego, because he would always just brag about himself. And then one day I just like listened to his music, like more than just, you know, what I would hear on the radio. And he really is good, has good music. And I know he has mental illness and he said some racist, horrible things, but it's the same thing. Like I'm releasing a video about Michael Jackson tomorrow, actually. Check it out on my other channel. The Beat Goes On. And Michael Jackson obviously had some personal issues and was very controversial, but you know, if you separate the music, I mean, maybe there's something to it. Like the weirder the person is, the better music they make.
Yeah, one of my favorites is Mike Patton, who's the singer for Faith No More and Mr. Bungle. He's just a weird guy. So that's one of the reasons why they're some of my favorite bands.
Who was the singer that died for Faith No More? No, he didn't die. He left the band. That's what
his name was Chuck Mosley. They were kind of a rap rock-ish, more like Yeah, they were okay. The music, the band was always good, but the lead singer was not good. But when they got Mike Patton is when they got, in my opinion, a lot better.
Oh, he could sing. Yeah, that's when they.
He had weird stage fright for a while, so they wouldn't really tour much. He just would have panic attacks, so they hardly toured. But they're touring again the past 10 years or so. But weird lyrics, Pixies, weird lyrics. And that's kind of like with Steely Dan and Blue Oyster Cult. They're weird lyrics, and I just kind of like cryptic, weird stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. Cat Power. I don't know if you've heard of Cat Power, but she was same thing. She still has really big stage fright, and so oftentimes she'll play with her back to the audience, and it seems like she's, obviously it's the opposite of the charisma you need to like connect with your audience, your fans. But that's just something she does to kind of deal with her stage fright. All right. We are on to our fourth question. Thanks everyone for being here. If you're just joining us, this is the Geography King, the guy who I had the GeoGuessr game and he destroyed all of us. I remember that very well. You kicked our butts. Knows geography. So, segue, what is your favorite geography fact?
Oh,
or facts, plural.
Wow, I don't know. Just something I can think of really quickly is Crater Lake in Oregon is not a very big lake in terms of its surface area. It's not even one of the 100 largest lakes in the U.S., but it's the second or third deepest lake in the world. So it has this incredibly small surface area with the super deep. So it has by far the highest depth to surface area ratio in the world of any lake. I just think it's so amazing to see a lake that's not that big just be as deep as it is. And also in California, how you have Mount Whitney and Death Valley so close to each other, the highest and lowest point in the contiguous U.S. to be less than 100 miles apart from each other as the crow flies. I think it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, California really is a sample of the entire country in so many ways. It has everything that the whole country has.
Yeah, it's got the topography keeps things separated a little bit from climate and cultural type things. So it's such a big state. There's a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Like going to the Central Valley, it's like going to Kansas. My cousin lived in Fresno, and
that's near where I'm from. And I'm sure, as you know, a lot of the people that emigrated there in the 1930s were people from the Dust Bowl region. So
Grapes of Wrath.
Like that's how my ancestors got to Visalia. Was they came, Grapes of Wrath style, straight across from Oklahoma, like the Panhandle area, to Central Valley. And there was hardly any people in the valley at that time. It wasn't there. You don't see any of the Santa Rosa, Santa Barbara, all the Spanish colonial towns are not in the San Joaquin Valley. And it was indigenous people and then the Dust Bowl people. And that was about it. But yeah, that's why it has a Midwestern Great Plains feel to it. And even with accents, up until fairly recently, older people there would have Southern accents, kind of like Oklahoma. And then when my mom was growing up there, they would call the redneck kids the Okies. They were these are Okie kids or Okie-fying the city and something. But anyway, that's not even on the question.
No, I like it. I love it. Keep sharing facts randomly throughout the rest of the stream.
But yeah, as far as facts, I can't think of any one specific one, but I do love one thing that's fun to say. I've said it on my channel a couple of times, is there's a town in South Carolina called Due West and another town called North. And so the town of North is about an hour and a half southeast. So you can say, the town of Due North is an hour and a half southeast of, no, how do you say? North South Carolina is a half an hour southeast of Due South. It's just
that's amazing.
But yeah, it's I don't know.
That's amazing. You got to make a short out of that.
Yeah,
they'll get 1 million views. That's just like there's a New York, Texas, and there's a Texas, New York. You ever go to depths or follow depths of Wikipedia? Or you're not on Twitter?
No.
Good for you, by the way. That's one of my favorite follows is depths of Wikipedia, and that's how I found that out. There's a New York, Texas, and a Texas, New York. Yeah. All right. So my turn. No, it's your turn.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
It's your turn.
All right. So one of the things I like to talk about in videos and signature foods, and
yep.
Kansas City is known for its barbecue. Or I'm not sure if you're a barbecue person, if you're a meat eater or not, but how would you put Kansas City barbecue up against Texas and the Southeast?
Well, we just came from Dallas, and I was like, man, it's really good down here. We went to a couple different spots in Dallas, and so I know I'm biased, obviously, for Kansas City, but maybe Texas is a little bit better if I'm ignoring my bias. But yeah, Kansas City is, we were also in Nashville recently last spring, and barbecue is way better. Oh, and Memphis as well. The barbecue is way better in Kansas City compared to Tennessee. No offense to your.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, there's just something about it. Maybe it's like closer to the source out here, but then also like it's quite a science. Like the way that they make it is similar to, I always say, brewing beer or growing wine grapes. Like there's so many variables that goes into it. People don't recognize that, there's a lot of things that can go wrong, but a lot of things that can go right that make, and especially like if you have like kind of a palate that's a little bit more advanced, you notice those subtle differences, the way they smoke the meat, the subtle differences in how they flavor the meat. My favorite place in KC is Joe's, used to be Oklahoma Joe's. That's the place that used to be, the original location was a gas station. And it's still the same building there. Actually, I think there still is a gas station, but you see like always just a constant line of people like waiting to get in, and it's always worth it. I mean, you'll wait in line for 30 minutes, but when you finally get to the front, you're like, yeah, I'll do it again. I'll wait this long again. Have you had Kansas City barbecue before?
Yeah. Every time I pass through there, I'll try to stop there. I don't remember the last place I ate. It was kind of a divey place. It was really good. But I've also eaten at the more well-known places, like the Gates. I think that's good too.
Yeah. Gates is great.
But yeah, I mean, Tennessee though I call it the black hole of barbecue in the South. Other than Memphis, it's the worst Southern state for barbecue. It's kind of
really. A lot of people say that they hype it up for some reason.
Well, Memphis is Tennessee, so they might say Tennessee barbecue, but they're meaning probably Memphis, because once you get Nashville east, you don't really get that. It's more fried chicken. I mean, when I first moved here, fried chicken was a much bigger thing, but when you get to Georgia, the Carolinas, Alabama, Mississippi, all the other southern states is barbecue, pork barbecue. And yeah, Nashville is known for its hot chicken. Chattanooga is known for its Champy's fried chicken and that kind of stuff. But for whatever reason, we don't have there's one good place in town here, really good place, but he's a guy from Texas. He does Texas style barbecue. So it's here, but it's not really Tennessee style barbecue.
Yeah. Texas for the win with barbecue, but just in general, though, the South easily is superior to any other part of the country in terms of food, in my opinion. I mean, there's a reason why they call it comfort food in parts of the South. Like, it's just yeah. I mean, and then I guess maybe there's an exception. Like, I like seafood, and so we don't get good seafood in Kansas.
I'd imagine.
Whenever I go to New England, I always have to get some seafood. Usually get a crab roll or a lobster roll. I mean, just anything really that's fresh. It's fresh. So yeah.
Yeah, I fell in love with shrimp and grits when I moved to South Carolina. It sounds gross. I was like, shrimp and the grits? That sounds pretty stupid, but yeah, I like that a lot.
I've never actually had that. I have to try it.
Yeah, it's really good. I make it here at home every now and then.
Wow. Do you cook a lot?
I'm the main cook in the house. So I do most of the chefing.
We hate cooking, both Mrs. B and I.
Yeah, right. Just my wife and I, so it's a little easier for two.
Yeah, that does make a little difference. Okay, let's see if I can get a good transition here. All right. Some of these questions are a bit heavier. It's been pretty lighthearted so far.
That's all right. I can take it.
Which state has underperformed, attracting growth, in your opinion? And which state has overperformed, attracting growth, in your opinion? Like, in other words, let me word it a little differently. Like, states that you can think of that, like, man, they're really great places, but for some reason they just can't attract people to move there. And then on the flip side, states are like, why would anybody live there? But people are moving there. You know what I mean?
I think for the first, I would say it's New Mexico. It's my favorite state, but I think it's never been a state that's really. They've never been to Texas. Like, please come here. We want your companies. It's always been more, whatever, leave us alone type thing. But it's a very poor state. It's the West Virginia of the West. So I think it's very underperformed. I think people would want to live there from a climate perspective. People like Arizona, people like Texas, people would like California if it was cheaper. But I think people like that the southern Sunbelt aspects, but there's never been any good big draw other than stuff with astrophysics and aerospace. That's really limited. That's really good jobs, but that's also a small number of people doing it. So I think New Mexico has been bad. I think Mississippi also, it's always struggled. It's never not struggled from statehood. So, I mean, it has the same low cost of living as other southern states, has some of the same regulation type things that companies want, but they don't want Mississippi. I don't know if they don't have incentives to bring companies over, but for whatever it is, they've never done it. Alabama has a lot of stuff there. Tennessee has a lot. Arkansas has got some stuff coming in there. Louisiana has all the energy and ports. Mississippi's just kind of there. So
It's sad.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's I don't. Yeah, it just doesn't get any. But it's kind of like West Virginia. It doesn't really get any better, but at least there it's pretty. I mean, but from the other end, you know, in terms of, I don't think anybody can overperform so much. I don't think Texas has overperformed. I think they've done a good job, but I think too much of it is in just a few spots. It's a huge state, and like for example, Elon Musk opened up the Cybertruck factory in Austin. I mean,
Right.
the last thing Austin needed was a automotive assembly plant after all the high tech stuff, but El Paso could have loved a automotive assembly plant. You still have the same laws, same regulations, same taxes, but so I think Texas has not overdone it, but I think Austin and Dallas and individual spots within Texas has got too much. If you live in Austin, I'm sure you would agree. Like, why do we need an automotive assembly plant now on top of all this other stuff? But I think the one for me that is, it's not so much a head scratcher. I know why, but Idaho's growth is always a little kind of, people tend to move there because of politics. That's the main reason people are moving to Idaho. So it's not really
People from
attractive.
neighboring Oregon and Washington, you mean?
I think people from all over the country are moving to Idaho for it's
California.
the most guaranteed conservative state. I think. I don't know. That's a big draw. I know people that want to move to Idaho, but that's the only reason they want to move there, because it's expensive. It's high tax as well. So people aren't moving to Idaho to escape cost of living. So if you move from California to Idaho, your taxes probably went up, because Idaho has a 6.3% flat state income tax, and California's
that's ironic. I'm sorry, I got to say that. Like, yeah, if you're especially a Republican, you generally should like lower taxes. So that's counterintuitive.
Yeah, Idaho is that. I think that's why people are moving there, but not companies. It's kind of it's a high tax state for companies.
Oh,
Because Texas, Nevada, other states are, Tennessee, North Carolina are low for companies, but they might be relatively high tax for people. But I don't think Idaho's trying to bring in companies. I think they're happy just bringing in people. Maybe bringing in too many people, but that's one where the growth doesn't seem to match economic growth. Like, it doesn't seem to be equal to companies moving there. It's just people. And the state is kind of a big suburb. There's some pretty cool spots in some of these small mountain towns, but it's basically one giant suburb in most of Idaho now.
Yeah, we really liked what was it, Twin Falls, I think. Most of Idaho was a little bit disappointing. There's a Pocatello. What's it?
Pocatello, yeah. That's where Idaho State University is.
Yeah, we loved Pocatello. We stayed there one night and I was like, this is a beautiful place. This is heaven on earth. But then, like, we weren't that impressed with Boise. Boise was like, man, what's the hype about this place? I mean, I guess the weather there is a little bit more mild than further east, but I don't know.
I haven't been there in a while. We did like it when we were there before huge growth, but we were younger, and surprisingly enough, it was a fun Main Street. We did some serious bar hopping, and we're like, wasn't where you would expect to see that. I mean, there is a big university there, but the Main Street, Boise, isn't where the university is. It was just, regular people hanging out. I was like, wow, this is surprising for Idaho.
We didn't go downtown. We should have. Yeah, so I'll give Boise another chance.
It's grown so much in 10 years. I think it's literally the fastest growing metro in the US. So it's,
yes.
I mean, in just 10 years, it's almost not quite double, but 1 2/3 the size as it was. So it's going to be 1 million probably by the 2030 census.
Yeah, it is. I agree with you about Mississippi, like how there's just such lost potential.
It's like they're not trying.
Yeah, like, I mean, you look at neighboring states. I mean, Alabama, although I'll admit that Alabama, I actually made a video comparing Alabama and Mississippi, and I found out researching that over the decades, Alabama has got more federal funding than Mississippi for, like, especially NASA related. So
yeah.
So did Texas. And so Mississippi kind of got looked over. They didn't seize that opportunity, but that's just one example. Overall, I mean, you got the same climate. You have the coast there. You got Memphis is nearby up in the north, and then beautiful beaches for the most part in the south, but mild winters. Like, it's a Sunbelt state. It's just like New Mexico. Both those, all the Sunbelt states should be doing well.
It doesn't attract retirees like you would think.
Yeah,
it's cheap, but wages are low, but it's still pretty cheap. But yeah, it's just, I don't think they try as much. I think Alabama is more out trying to get companies to come there. They've got a lot of manufacturing is coming into Alabama and South Carolina, Tennessee, those 3 states. But Mississippi just kind of, we'll just sit here, do nothing. I don't know.
Same thing with Louisiana. Louisiana and Mississippi are just disappointing. Like, I think Louisiana for so long was just relying on New Orleans and on carrying the rest of the state, and that hasn't proved to be, especially since Katrina. I don't think they ever fully recovered after Katrina. And then on the flip side, I always say, like, it's really impressive what the upper Midwestern states used to be able to do, attracting businesses and people to live there, like Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan in particular. I saw my friend Will in the chat, who's from Michigan. You got really horrible climate for like half the year, horrible winters. But what, I guess, like someone like Henry Ford in Michigan, like the entire auto industry, that could have been anywhere, but they chose it to be Michigan. And then Minnesota has done so many things right politically that I think a lot of other states haven't done to attract not only businesses, but residents. And because it really isn't, I don't know, I'm just surprised. You look at the population of Minnesota and then you compare it to North Dakota, South Dakota, and you're just like, yeah, like Minnesota, how is this? Like, it's like there's nobody in South Dakota, North Dakota.
Yeah.
What is the population of Minnesota? I can't think at the top of my head.
About 5.5 million.
Yeah, it's mostly the Twin Cities.
Yeah, it's about 5.5 million, and I think about 3.5 are in the Twin Cities. So that's 2 million in the rest of the state, whereas South Dakota is only 900,000. North Dakota is only 800,000. So it's not many people in rural Minnesota, but it's more than the Dakotas.
So both of the Dakotas combined have less than half the population in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And I know obviously there's natural resources comes to play too, but one of my most successful videos that I ever released, surprisingly, was my North Dakota, South Dakota compared videos. And I think a lot of that was luck for South Dakota. It's like to have the Black Hills in particular.
Yeah.
They kind of turned that into like one of the top tourist destinations in the entire country, especially after Mount Rushmore, which was, a lot of federal government help there when that went down. People don't realize. So anyway, we could go on that question forever. Is it, oh yeah, it's your turn. 5th question.
All right.
KU has tied it up. It's a tie game, KU K-State. No one cares. No one
That's
cares.
kind of weird how that's not the last game of the year. Wouldn't they want that to be the final big rivalry game?
You would think, but it hasn't been that way for a long time. It's one of the last games. I don't know. I can hear like the game from my house. It's crazy. That's how close we live to the stadium.
All right, so I'll keep it kind of similar to what we were going on, but more with Kansas. So, like I was saying before, driving across Western Kansas, you see a lot of ghost towns, a lot of towns that are either there or on the verge of becoming a ghost town. You've had a big issue with drought, with the Ogallala Aquifer, all kinds of issues there.
Mm-hmm.
What do you see as the future of Kansas economy? What will be driving the economy by 2050, you think?
I think it's a crisis. I think that, you mentioned the aquifer. For those who don't know, Western Kansas and Western Nebraska, a lot of the farmers out there rely heavily on the Ogallala Aquifer, which is the largest underground aquifer. Well, they're all underground aquifer in the entire continent. I believe, and it's running out. There won't be water. Like some estimate that it could be dry completely within 50 years. Some say longer or even shorter. So there have to be some other way to get irrigation because they don't get enough rainfall. There's already other methods they do to like try to like work with what they have, but agriculture is not going to be the primary driver of the future for Kansas. A lot of people don't understand that most people that live in Kansas they live in cities. You know, like it's highly urbanized, and a lot of these farms. And you mentioned the small towns. There is this phenomenon called brain drain, is what I believe what they call it. Where I should make a video about this, but yeah, brain drain. A lot of these small towns in western Kansas. The kids that are raised there, they go off to college, and instead of moving back home, they move to bigger cities far away. Typically in Kansas, that's Wichita or Kansas City. Same thing happens up north in Nebraska. They all go to Lincoln or Omaha. And then in Oklahoma, they all go to Tulsa or Oklahoma City. And it's the exact same thing. Small towns are dying slowly. All the small towns have a Dollar General, though. They used to have mom and pop shops, but those all got put out of business. And then a common trend in these small towns is a lot of people are on welfare because they can't find steady work. There's a lot of drug abuse. There's a lot of suicide. There's a lot of despair, and it's really sad to see. So I don't know what the solution is for this, but it's something that a lot of politicians don't bring up enough. And I get really frustrated when you see, I mean, all these voices in rural America, I feel like are not heard. And there's this kind of stereotype that they're all like rednecks and bigots and all this. They're not. They're some of the nicest people ever. I taught in rural America. And it's kind of, it's something that needs to be brought to attention more. The population of Kansas is barely growing.
Yeah, it's been about the same for about 10 years.
Yeah, like if you look at the growth, it's only been Wichita, Kansas City, basically. It's just we don't have tourism. We don't have the taxes actually aren't that low. We're kind of middle of the pack, so we're not really attracting a lot of big businesses. It was a big deal that Panasonic was going to build a plant near where I live, and it's not really even that many jobs. It's like, and so yeah, I believe that it's not just Kansas. A lot of states, especially in a lot of flyover states, that what we're called, they're going to be the next 100 years are going to be rough.
Yeah, because the Great Plains states generally aren't low tax, because without the tourism, without so many other things, the people are taxed a little bit more. So I think South Dakota is the only Midwest Great Plains state that would be a low tax. The rest are
no income tax.
Yeah.
There are incentives across the flyover states, like free land. There are certain towns that will give you free land or big discount on if you buy a house. But the problem is no one wants to move to these places because there's not really, you'd have to have like a whole community transplant there because they're isolated places generally, you know? Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of sad. Thank you, Sean. I didn't see this until now. The meeting of the legends. You two are great representatives of not politicizing maps and history. Very objective men. Great job, you two from New Jersey. Have you two been to New Jersey? Yes, only briefly. Embarrassingly, I'm assuming you have, right?
Yes, I was there fairly recently. I drove up the shore.
Nice. Yeah, it's a totally. I made a whole video about it. It's an underrated state. It's the butt of many jokes, but I think most of those jokes started because of a conspiracy by those dang New Yorkers.
Yeah, southern New Jersey was a lot of woods and swampy areas, wetlands. The beaches that are on the southwest coast of New Jersey are kind of like wetland swamps, not really beaches. So it's kind of neat. Yeah, I thought it was. Yeah, I mean, a lot more of it is not urban than you might think. It's still mostly urban, suburban, but there's still more that's not just that.
It's the Garden State. It's all. It's all.
There are gardens
garden.
there.
Okay. I think it's my turn. So I actually have a question. I have two questions that are related to what we were just talking about. But I think I'll go with this one. So, one of the things I'm trying to be optimistic about, like the possibility that more and more Americans or people around the world, like, because this is not just an American problem, but people will move back to these small towns in rural America because they can work from home because all they need is a good internet connection. And actually, I just looked up the statistics. Currently, 13% of all American workers work from home full time. 28% have a hybrid situation. So half the week they are in an office, the other half they're at home, which to me, I think hybrid is like the sweet spot, the Goldilocks.
Yeah.
But yeah, like where do you see that trend going? Because, this really escalated during the pandemic. Some said, oh, it's going to go back to normal afterwards, but it hasn't. But where do you see the trend kind of going from here?
Yeah, the trend didn't go the way I was expecting because people aren't moving to rural areas. They're leaving rural areas. They're leaving cities, and everyone's going to suburbs. And so when after pandemic, there was talks of Chattanooga being like the it city in the country because there's no state income tax and it has the fastest internet in the world, just about. So creators can come here, but it didn't happen at all. I think growth actually even slowed over the past couple of years.
Really?
I just wonder, because it's not just about, you say 13% work from home, but you kind of have to be with somebody who also works from home. So maybe I can work from home, but my wife works at a hospital or somewhere. She has to be there. So we couldn't move to wherever we wanted to unless both of us had that type of job. I don't think there's really anywhere, very few spots in the U.S. that's rural and growing. And there are plenty of rural areas that have good internet connection. You can, do whatever we do, whatever people do from remotely. But I just don't think, part of it, I think, is the people that do work from home, those types of jobs, maybe those people wouldn't want to be in a small town of 5,000 people where there's just one cafe and, one spot that people go to and small town gossip kind of stuff. So a lot of the tech workers are the ones that can have the opportunity to work from home. They might not want to be in that kind of smaller town like that. I'm not sure, but there really hasn't been any growth in many rural parts of the country, but suburbs are all booming right now.
And even exurbs, the one, like, say, I see a lot of situations where actually I have friends that did this, where they live on the very edge of a metro area. It's basically rural, but it's still close enough. Like it's within an hour still to drive to the city. Yeah. Because one of the, like you were saying, like one of the couple still had to drive to an office. The other one could stay home. And it's kind of like a balance, a sweet spot, because like you're still saving money for gas for one of the person.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think working from home is the best thing ever. I actually, I can't imagine going back to having to drive to work every day. It's just nice just being able to. And then the thing is, obviously, there are certain jobs that you can't.
Yeah.
There has to be trash collectors, firefighters, police officers, teachers, nurses, doctors, etc. Doesn't have to be lawyers, though. Anyway, I would just say, like, you could still. I think that number would. I think it will continue to go up because I've noticed with younger folks, they kind of, they don't like meetings. They don't understand why we kind of waste our time a lot of times, like going to a physical office when you're just as productive, if not more productive, at home.
Yeah.
And as long as the rural areas have some kind of connection to at least a city that I would say is at least 50,000 people population, because I feel like that's the sweet spot too. Like I could never live in a city that was probably less than 25,000 people. I do not do small towns.
Yeah.
I grew up in a small town, and yeah, news travels fast in a small town. I hated that. But also 25,000. That's like the sweet spot where you start to get certain, like you got a Home Goods, you got a Starbucks, certain things. That makes a difference, if
my main thing is a full service grocery store. That's the minimum size town for a full supermarket type grocery store.
I'll take an Aldi. I love Aldi's. They have Aldi's in Tennessee?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, nice. All right. Well, cool. Thanks for sharing your thoughts on that. I had another super chat real quick. Oh, thoughts on U.S. territories. Oh, it's Malafunk-Sean 808. I recognize you. Thank you for, you're from Hawaii. They're from Hawaii. Share beautiful pictures. What are your thoughts on U.S. territories?
For me, I'm a firm believer that Puerto Rico should be a state. It's too big to be a territory. If you look around the world, all the territories in the world have 6-figure populations, or less, maybe 100,000, 200,000, maybe 30,000. And Puerto Rico is over 3 million. It's like a 50-year-old living in their parents' basement. It's too big to be a territory. So, I mean, I would much rather see a state as an independent country. That'll be ultimately up to them. But as far as the other territories go, those are, I would say small enough to the point where they, it'd be tough to make it on their own without the military in the Pacific territories and U.S. tourists going to the Virgin Islands without a passport. That helps out a lot. But I would always be curious. So if Puerto Rico became a state, would people move there? Would this be somewhere that, is tropical? It's very poor. It'd be by far the poorest state. But would people that want that Florida type aspect, but maybe not Florida, because there's no income tax in Puerto Rico either. So you'd have that same kind of low tax, pro business type thing. You already have plenty of companies there.
Low cost of living.
States, I mean, could that draw people, retirees? Would all these Yankees go from, New York and Boston to Puerto Rico as opposed to Florida? So
it's already happening.
There's
I mean, a lot of them moving down there. And the locals don't like them, by the way, as you would expect.
I can imagine. Yeah, but they lost a lot of people after the 2017 Hurricane Maria. A big population decrease went from 3.5 million to about 3 million just in 1 year.
Most of them went to New York, I believe, and the traditional spot where not Cubans, Puerto Ricans have gone to immigrate to the United States, to the mainland. It's interesting. I mean, it's a similar situation in rural Puerto Rico that I was talking about, in the Midwest. That's interesting. I do think that more people would move there if it was a state. Politically, people just assume that, it would be a Democratic Party leaning.
I think it'd be a Republican state, actually.
I think it's a coin toss, frankly. I could see it going either way. I mean, it's socially conservative and maybe a little bit more left-leaning in terms of economically. But if that's what they're worried about, I mean, come on. They are not getting representation. They don't have a representative that can vote in Congress, and it's a disgrace. Now, some of the other territories, I would say, I know Samoa has a lot of the people there don't want to become a state. And so I think it should be up to the people. There should be a referendum. They should decide.
Well, Samoa, I mean, half of Samoa is an independent country. The other half is a territory. So that's kind of strange like that. So I'm not sure if Samoa would want to join with the independent nation Samoa.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the political situation is there. But Guam and the Mariana Islands are basically, those are almost U.S. military establishments in the Pacific. There's not a lot of, I think there's 50,000 people in the Marianas, and
very small. Yeah.
They certainly they couldn't make it as a state for sure. They're way too small for that.
Well, according to our Constitution, they could. Well, if Wyoming can be a state, dadgummit, no. Okay, it's your turn.
All right, so one thing I've been curious about for a while is, Beat is your last name, but what is the ancestry of it? What is that?
Oh, I actually had Genie Vlogger, the YouTuber, did a whole series on my ancestry, like family tree and all that. I had little knowledge of it prior to that, but he found that it was probably on, like it was it goes back to my Prussian ancestors slash. I guess they lived in the Volga area of Russia.
Vitowski. He had to drop the Owski.
Yeah, so it might have been something where it was longer. They don't know for like he couldn't confirm it. Actually, there was not enough evidence. We just made the assumption, but yeah, like it was a definitely Eastern European name originally. That's and there's a lot of Beaties in the United States today, but not many Beats. In fact, I looked it up one time, and I think there was only one other Matt Beat on the entire planet. Which I thought was kind of cool, you know, because my first name is so boring and generic. The year I was born, 1981, Matthew was the most popular name in the country. I was like, Mom, Dad, you're really original with the name there. So I've always loved my last name, but people don't believe it's my real last name. In fact, my brother's a drummer. We play in a band together, Electric Needle Room. We would play shows, and there was this other band we played with, and we played multiple shows with them. We, became friends with them. And one night randomly, I was like talking about something with our family. And he's like, wait a second, your real last name is Beat? And he didn't believe us. He thought it was our stage names, because we're musicians, and especially my brother, Stephen Beat. And so he literally, my brother had to show him his driver's license before he believed us. I don't know if he was messing with us or not, but yeah, it's like, seems like a name that I would make up. People think that I rip off Mr. Beast. They literally think that. Most of them are 12-year-olds.
But your channel's older than his, isn't it?
It is. It really is.
He copied you.
Yeah, that's right. Well, no.
But have you single-handedly funded millions of poor kids to rise up out of poverty like he does every day?
Yeah, I mostly have positive thoughts about that dude because, he was. A lot of people accidentally type in Mr. Beat when they're searching for him, really, and they stumble upon it. And then they still watch my stuff anyway. They stick around for me. And he has done a lot of good work despite some of the criticisms he gets, like he's exploiting people.
Yeah.
I think it's been a net positive on society, Mr. Beast. This channel is older than Mr. Beast himself. No, he was born in, I think, 1998. So YouTube didn't exist back then.
He's only that. Man, he looks older than that. Is he? He's only 25.
Yeah.
Wow, he looks older than that.
Yeah, he was born in Wichita, Kansas.
Oh yeah,
not very far from where I lived. I was in high school at the time. Yeah. Anyway, all right. So we already talked about the Sun Belt. The trend for the last 80 years has been Americans have been generally moving south for the milder climates, especially in the winter, even though the summers still will suck. But especially after the invention of the air conditioner. I made a whole video on this. It's kind of common knowledge by this point on YouTube. But I think climate change isn't brought up enough. I wanted to show you, I want to see if you came across this map. There's a new plant hardiness map.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a brand new one that just came out. I hope this doesn't have a paywall. Here, I'm going to share this with the audience here. But it's the first map that was done since 2012. And it's kind of small, kind of hard to see. But you can see the thing I always think about is palm trees. Like, you can now grow palm trees in northern Texas when you couldn't grow them in Texas 100 years ago, and they will survive. And since they made this map in 2012, the average temperature has gone up 2.5 degrees, which is kind of, I don't know, I guess some people are excited because they can plant new stuff, but it's also kind of horrifying. So So this is mainly a migration question for you. How do you think climate change will affect the future of the Sun Belt, especially in the Southwest? You were hyping up New Mexico, but I mean, there's no water in the American Southwest. So how does that going to affect that?
Honestly, it should affect it, but I don't think it will, because I mean, you saw this up until a couple of years ago, the lake levels in Lake Mead and Lake Powell out west, those really bad pictures of these lakes almost dried up, but the population growth of Utah and Nevada has gone up in the past couple of years. So unfortunately, I don't think people look at water as a reason to move or not to move somewhere. But I think in the end, it's going to have to be ocean desalination for California, and then probably for Arizona as well. And if you can get those states off of the water, then maybe have more for the states like Arizona or for Nevada and Utah. But I mean, I don't know. In terms of, there's been talks of people moving back to the Rust Belt, but I think these are a little farther off. I think it'll need to be very, very dire before people don't move somewhere because of water. I mean, I like to think that the water situation will be taken care of first, but I mean, history has shown that that's not going to stop people from moving somewhere. But I think eventually it's going to have to be some type of ocean desal. There's plenty of water. It's a complicated process to get it there. And,
expensive.
I mean, because for right now, you do have plenty of water in the Midwest, but it's still, you couldn't grow a lot of the crops that you grow in the Southwest. So it's kind of in a, no man's land for a while, where you still can't grow the stuff up there. Yeah, it's not warm enough. It's not, global warming enough up there, but but you still need the Southwest for agriculture, but just no water. That's probably the most difficult question, I think, for the Southwest in general, because I mean, going back to the 80s in California, they had no idea what they were doing with water situation. All the stuff before that with the Mulholland Falls kind of stuff, and I mean, they've never had a good answer for the water. Just kind of pass it on to the next group, let them deal with it.
That's messed up, though. I mean, we got to be thinking about future generations. And it's like, I think about now that ever since I had kids, I was like, they may have kids too. And in fact, their kids may have kids too. So I'm literally thinking about my future grandchildren and great grandchildren. And I'm just like, well, if you think about wealth, a lot of times it's assets, of course, which for most people, that just means real estate, like whatever. If you have the American dream of owning a house, it's a dream that's becoming harder to reach, but it's there. A lot of people don't realize the majority of Americans still own a home. It's a big deal, whether it be through a bank or otherwise. But if you're buying a house in Las Vegas or even Salt Lake City, where there's still fears about the Great Salt Lake, I mean, if that dries up, all of that crap at the bottom of the Great Salt Lake coming up and storms, it's gonna be a nightmare in Salt Lake City. And so like I think about this, I'm like, okay, maybe I should tell my kids, like, when you think about where you want to move, be aware of like not what's the climate's going to do in 10 years. What is the climate going to do in 50 or 100 years? Because it's an investment, and I know it's hard for us to we're a very short-term thinking species, but like I say, hey, look to the Great Lakes. The Great Lakes is going to be, I think, because in my opinion, I think, we're making a little bit of progress trying to fight back against climate change, but I'm more of a doomer with this. Like, I'm thinking like we've already done the damage mostly. I don't know if we're going to be able to turn this around very well. It's going to suck for our great grandchildren, and maybe I'll be alive back, in the year 2100, maybe, and I guess I'll be an old man like I predicted this. But regardless, I think people should start preparing now. I really do.
But it's not just the Southwest. I think people in the Southeast don't realize that it's
Florida,
because Florida can get You think it's all water, but it can be drought. And Georgia, really bad. So right now we have a little bit of a drought in the southeast, but back in, I think it was 2010, there was a really bad drought, and the reservoirs around Atlanta were really low. You could see all the low water mark.
I remember that.
A couple years later, it was like record
Rain.
rain, record flooding, and the reservoir still was not even at the point where it should have been in a normal year, and it was a flooding year. That's how low it was.
Wow.
And so there's been water issues a lot in Georgia, and the Carolinas could be the same. There's more water there than the Southwest, but there's more people moving there than the Southwest. So
Yeah.
I think the Great Lakes is going to be the part where you're going to have the most reliable source of water, because other than ocean water, but in terms of fresh water, that's your most reliable source for sure.
Yeah, you make really good points. I actually have this book. I was going to see if you've heard of it. I figured you'd be the only one I know that has heard of this book. Where's it at? I'm going to find it. One moment here. There it is. It's over here. It's very dorky. Very dorky. It's called Strategic Relocation. Have you heard of this book?
No, I have not.
Yeah, and that last question I had, like, what kind of inspired me to have that question is this book. He basically looks at like natural disasters primarily, but also like crime and stuff like that. Like, where's the best place to raise a family based on? There's a little bit of variation for what you specifically, but like, there's good information in there that you never think about. Typically, people don't think about these things. They just assume, I'm just going to live in Kansas the rest of my life, because that's where my ancestors were.
Yeah.
Donald Trump, tremendous stakes. Thank you. Will DST ever go away? Wait, DST. What is DST? I'm sorry. Do you know what DST? What
Daylight savings time?
Oh, daylight savings time. I think it should go away. I think it sucks. What's your opinion on daylight savings time?
For me, I think the more north you live, the bigger of a deal that's going to be.
Yeah.
I don't like how it gets dark earlier, but if you live up north and you get rid of you just only do daylight savings, the sun won't rise until 9, like 8 or 9 in the morning, which is kind of weird. So for you're relatively south, or if you're south, Florida, certainly Texas, it's not going to matter that much. It'll it's because you have less variation. But I think for people up north to keep it on daylight savings time all year round would be weird. I think it'd be light until 5 p.m. or so. But I mean, you'd be taking your kids to school in the dark. You'd be going. I don't know. For me, I would rather have it the other way. But as someone in the South, I would like to keep it daylight savings time. But I think because it would affect the North more negatively, I think that's why we haven't gotten rid of it yet, is because of damn Yankees up there.
Way to think of others.
Their sun geometry is all messed up there.
Yeah, that would be a huge adjustment. And somebody had a question. Thank you, CJQ, for the super chat. Somebody had a question, or they had a question for you. Have you paddled the Boundary Waters? Nice shirt and hi from Grand Marais. Is it Grand? How do you pronounce that?
Grand Marais, I think.
Grand Marais, Minnesota, just south of.
I was just up there. That's where I got this shirt. I was up there a few months ago. I did not paddle. I was there. I was wanting to paddle, but didn't really work out. But was scoping out some nice areas to paddle where we'll be there next year. So yeah, I loved it up there a lot. Really nice wilderness. So I look forward to paddling there, but didn't get a chance to on this last trip.
Yeah, I was wondering where that random question came from. I was like, the shirt. Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. All right, I think it's your turn.
All right. All right. So I don't get really into politics on my channel, but you get into stuff on yours. So I figured it's fair game. Kansas is a state that basically is guaranteed to go Republican in presidential elections. Probably to the point where you don't even have to see ads for president. I wouldn't even think for the elections, but
yeah, we don't see.
It seems like just as often as not, there's a Democrat governor. So what is it about with Kansas that it has the separate state DNRs from the the national DNRs?
Well, it's I would say, I mean, I don't mean to brag about my home state, but we have a pretty smart population who can kind of see. I mean, it's not quite as partisan as some of the other states. Like, so if a Democrat is saying the right things and they're not bringing up things that Kansans generally disagree about. So, for example, abortion, I would say most Kansans are on the right side of the spectrum for abortion. But our governor, Laura Kelly, who's a Democrat, she got reelected back in 2022, and she's fairly popular, although she's a Democrat, and this is, like you said, a Republican state. But the thing is, the legislature is Republican majority, and I think Kansans are often okay with that balancing out. I mean, we had a Democratic governor also 15 years ago, Kathleen Sebelius, who later joined the Obama administration. And she was also moderate. I think mostly on the economy, mostly all about like lower taxes, which is pretty high on the priority list here for Kansans. So something like, for example, Laura Kelly campaigned, and she was a big reason why it passed in the legislature. No taxes on food, or at least starting like transitioning. Look, because dadgummit, we need food to eat or to survive. So that's something I think most of us agree on. It's not nonpartisan. So focusing on nonpartisan issues, I think these savvy Democrats in Kansas, who are, again, your Democrat in Kansas is nowhere similar to your Democrat in California or New York. So it's just a different type of Democrat, I think. But we're a fairly moderate state. We are not like Alabama. Alabama is quite a bit further right than Kansas is. So, yeah, great question. All right. I just checked the score again, man. It's a good game. But you know what? I'd much rather be doing this. But yeah, in case you're following, in case you care, like the two people that are from Kansas that care, Kansas State is up 16-13 over Kansas. All right.
Now, I remember when I was at South Carolina in the early 2000s, there was one random year that Kansas was one of the best teams in the country out of nowhere. They were like
2008.
Yeah, they were like 12-1 or something. I was like, Kansas, the basketball school is like one of the top football schools this year.
Would have made the national championship if it weren't for Missouri. Freaking Missouri. Yeah. But Missouri has a good team this year again, too. Kansas, their football team's good right now. They had a bad loss last week, but they've been ranked many times. It's after many, many years of being a horrible team. Oh, okay. No segue for this. We are on our 8th question. What are common misconceptions about geography?
I think the biggest one is that it's just trivia. It's just, what's the tallest mountain in Arkansas? What's the longest river in Peru? So it's like Jeopardy trivia. So if you study geography and maybe that's what you have on your resume, I got my degree in geography. I specialized in whatever. Somebody looking over it, of course, nowadays it's just AI. But if back in the day when somebody would read your resume, they would see, well, geography. I don't need someone that's just going to, know the capitals, but not really realizing that it encompasses so much more. So, like what I do is before I was doing YouTube was mainly climatology, physical geography, and natural hazard preparedness and response. And a lot of people didn't realize that was within geography, doing hurricane evacuation planning and that type of stuff. So we have to kind of hit it over, to get people to know what geography is. And it just encompasses way more than just trivia and atlas stuff. But yeah, I think you can basically do anything with geography, whatever your interest is. You can make a spatial component to it and make it something that's within geography. So, it could be talking about just distribution of food or just different types of grains used here in this places, or what countries use what kind of rice, or just anything could have a spatial component to it. So I think if people realized it was more versatile as a field, it'd be a little more respected. I think it's not really people think of a geographer. I studied geography. It's more like, do you know basic geography knowledge?
Yeah, it's kind of like thinking about geography through those 5 themes that when I used to teach geography, I like made them memorize them: location, place, human environment interaction, movement, region. Those, like, anything. That's anything. That's everything. Geography is basically the study of everything. How everything gets around, how everything is placed, where you can find everything. Like, it's about as broad as you can get. It's just the same way like history is the quickest way to learn everything, because you're really like just learning the past of everything.
Yeah.
And so I feel like anybody who's really into any kind of social studies, they're really just curious people who like to learn about a lot of stuff. And we all kind of brag and like, oh, did you know this? Did you know that? And that's kind of, I think, where the trivia element comes in. And then especially like, the one game show that I like to watch is Take a Guess.
I don't know. You seem like a
Jeopardy.
Jeopardy kind of guy. Yeah.
Jeopardy. Yeah. So yeah, trivia stuff. I like to, because like, it is hard to like it's hard to monetize. You're monetizing it. I'm monetizing it with my compared series. Like, but we're content creators, we're communicators. Whereas, I mean, when I was like, I almost studied geography in college. Instead, I went for journalism, education, history. But one of the roadblocks was like, what am I going to do with this other than be a geography teacher? They were like, oh, you could do GPS or all this. But like, you're right, though. There wasn't like a track to a career. But when you think about it, though, what your point was, all careers kind of incorporate some kind of geography.
Yeah, I mean, it's skills that can be applied to a lot of different fields. So yeah, not just things you would normally expect, but again, like with hurricane planning, that's not something you would, think with geography. I was drawing up evacuation routes of, areas and floodplains.
Yeah. Oh yeah, GIS. Thanks for correcting me, Jedi. You are a Jedi. All right. Any segue to your next question for that, or no?
Yeah, actually, I do. When I went to public schools, I mean, I didn't get much of any geography teaching at all. We got maybe a tiny little, just a couple of lessons. It wasn't even a class of geography, just a geography lesson within something else. How is it in Kansas? And do you feel that there needs to be more geography, more required geography?
Well, your last question, absolutely, obviously. Yeah, I think it's the main type of geography that I think is undertaught is cultural geography. You have so many people that, it's getting better. In Kansas, at least, it's getting better. I see it because my daughter is in 7th grade this year, and I see the content she's learning. I'm not exactly happy with how her teachers have taught her. I'm going to be talking to the principal. But anyway, I digress. Cultural geography is particularly important because it kind of forces students to have empathy, because they're learning about, you can do things in different ways. You can have belief systems. You don't have to talk that way. Like just something as simple as like knowing another language. I think there's a lot of overlap. When I learned Spanish in high school, my Spanish teacher, rest in peace, I found out she passed away, but she was really good about incorporating the culture part of it, where you're not just learning the language, you're learning like Spanish culture, well, Mexican culture primarily, because we focused on that. And so I think that part in particular is, we have look at all the ignorance when it comes to social media and people going on and on about Ukraine or Russia or Israel, Palestine. They don't know what they're talking about most of the time. And it's because they don't know geography.
Yeah, that's often the common denominators.
The
ignorant, views on world conflicts or whatever, just lack of geography knowledge.
Yeah, well, and it helps kind of, unify us when we just understand each other. And I trick people into clicking on my videos when I have like a state rivalry, like Kansas and Missouri is the state rivalry. So if you're from one of those two states, you're like, oh yeah, let's see what this is about. And then in the comment section, you're talking trash. It's mostly in good fun, but there are literally younger people that, even older people who, wow, like they are arguing about basic facts that they didn't, because they were, I don't know where they got their information originally. Maybe it was from their parents, or I don't think it was from their schools, but but yeah, like it's this whole tribalism thing that we need to get over that, which we're probably not going to get over that anytime soon, but it's something to strive for because that's how we all survive. Yeah. I would imagine you agree with me that more geography needs to be taught.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, my wife is very well educated. She's a college graduate, but she went all the way from kindergarten to, college graduate without taking a single minute of geography, because they didn't have to do anything with that. It was an elective. You could take geography or geology or chemistry as a, science, but
yeah.
I mean, so to think you can go, what is that, 16 years of school and not even a minute of geography, I think is crazy. Yeah, I'm definitely biased, but I think even without the bias, I think that's still wrong.
At the same time, what's weird is that like it's given us job security because there's so much ignorance out there that people are like, they're going to YouTube to find out, oh, what's the difference between Israel and Palestine? And they're like watching my video, like basic facts.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, no, Alaska is not in Russia. No, it's it used to be. It used to be. Yes, Wyoming exists. Oh, come on now. All right. All right. My turn.
Does it?
It is my turn, isn't it? Okay. Yeah, we're making progress here. This is a more serious question. It's something I think about all the time, and I've actually asked it to a couple other creators in this show, I believe. But because you have traveled a lot and you've studied this stuff a lot, there's a homelessness crisis right now. Like people experiencing homelessness is really bad, and it was kind of obvious why it was bad during the pandemic, I guess, because of the economy was really like not doing so well. But it's still a crisis. So, in your opinion, how do we solve the homelessness crisis in the United States?
Well, I mean, if I knew, but yeah, I mean, I think part of it is, I don't think it's agreed upon what has caused it in the first place. And if you don't know, like is it just housing expensive? It can't be just that. I mean, there's got to be more. So I think we have to know exactly what the problem is before we can try to fix it. Because what a lot of cities are doing, including Chattanooga, is they're turning old hotels into shelters, which I think is fine, but no one really knows that that's going to work. This kind of new things people have been doing, trying different tactics, but
like throwing spaghetti at the wall, seeing what sticks.
I'll tell you what doesn't work, and that is what many towns do. And that's what they do here, unfortunately, is if there's visible homeless, the police will kind of round them up and drop them off somewhere where they can't be seen. And that's kind of out of sight, out of mind. I think people here specifically, I'm sure it'll be the same in other places, think that the problem is better. It's not as bad as it was because they see less of it, but it's just they're being dumped off in the woods or off in a, area behind some factories. But I mean, I don't know. I don't have any good answer. I mean, that's the best I got, honestly, because they've tried universal basic income, but I think a lot of the problem is, I mean, it's mental illness. It's not even, and it's not just mental illness. I think a group of homeless that's overlooked are people that are just kind of slow, people that are just low IQ, that they're never going to be able to get a job that is going to pay well. I think we focused a lot on addicts and people that were priced out and people that need to be on medication. But how about the folks that are just I mean, I was at a deli and I was asking for a third of a pound, and the girl working there, she didn't know what a third was. It's like, a third? What does that mean? A third? And the other person had to be like, you think, 1/3, 3/3, put 0.3. She had to like teach that to someone working there. I'm thinking it wasn't like this woman was stupid. It was just
Yeah.
a little slow. And so I think people like that, if their rent goes up, they're limited to what they can do. And some of these low paying jobs aren't going to be enough. So there's a lot of issues going on, but in terms of, I don't know, I'm just rambling on the things because I don't really know. I don't have any kind of answer. I just see it getting a lot worse. I've seen homeless people in places I never saw, small towns, Green Bay, Wisconsin, Little Rock, Arkansas, just really bad. Just beach areas in California. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I just think in general, just people, there isn't enough money for just normal people. It's all being, it ain't passing down very well. I don't think the people that are needing the assistance are getting much of it.
Yeah, it's definitely complicated. And what you just said about Chattanooga, I could say the same thing about Lawrence. Like, they just kick them out of downtown and they put them all literally by the river, and they're camping. There's a huge camp by the river, and then people were complaining about that. And not only that, other neighboring small towns, what they'll do is the police will pick up people experiencing homelessness, and they'll take them to Lawrence. They'll drop them off here. It's out of sight, out of mind. Pretend like the problem doesn't exist. And then the people that, it's funny to me, like the people I've noticed in my hometown that complain the loudest generally about the homelessness problem, who are just mostly, they don't have solutions. They're just complaining, are people that lean to the left, that are not supposed, like, stereotypically supposed to have more empathy and all this stuff. And they're worried more about their property value than helping these people who are humans. If we have that fundamental belief that all human beings deserve rights, shelter should be a right. I think most Americans would agree that should be. Yeah. And so that's why I call it a crisis more than anything, because you have millions of people right now who are just, they have no place to go. And as far as solutions, I always say, hey, look at the world, and where do they not have a homelessness crisis? Most places do, as it turns out. Yeah. But there are exceptions. There are. Now, you can argue back and forth about whether or not they're best solutions, but they've solved it. Places like Singapore, Austria, a couple others have actually taken care of this problem. And so it's not like there aren't solutions. I just think that Americans aren't ready to do it, and they're not ready to allocate the billions of dollars it would need to take care of it. They'd rather spend it on other things.
Yeah, I mean, just when I was in Canada the last time, I mean, when you start to see, we always think of Canada as like the clean version of the U.S., but I mean, when I was in Toronto, there was a lot of homeless there too. Winnipeg, a lot of homeless there.
Oh,
so when
to not have a home, Winnipeg would be the worst place in the winter to not have a home.
I know. I mean, I was actually quite surprised at how downtrodden Winnipeg was, and it kind of put things in perspective where it's coming to Canada too. And I've seen stuff about homelessness on the rise in Japan, something that homeless in Japan didn't even exist 25 years ago, but now it's like a thing. So it's worse here than other developed countries, but it's spreading globally in terms of.
I'm tired of this argument. They say the same thing about healthcare. There's a lot more people in America. Everything can be scaled up. Everything. In fact, when you scale up, often it's more efficient. So that's one of the dumbest. I'm sorry, no offense to you, Jedi, but that's one of the dumbest arguments I've ever heard. But you hear it a lot. Do you think Walmart can scale up? Like, it's a ridiculous argument. I'm sorry. But no, there's a lot of comments that have strong opinions about this. I think it's on everybody's mind. And like we travel, we see it. Like when we were in Memphis, we had some aggressive homelessness. Or we had people that were homeless that were aggressive to us. And I was just thinking, like, I wish I could help you. Like, what can I do? Like, giving a $5 bill to somebody is not really helping them that much. And so, like, yeah, we need systemic change for sure. So sorry for the really tough question.
Well, I mean, I would also think about how I've traveled to a handful of poor countries, not destitute, but in poor countries, you don't see much homelessness. People have some type of makeshift shelter, even the poorest people.
Yeah.
And it just kind of puts things in perspective where you're in, say, Mexico, very poor, but there's not the number of people on the streets. There's more people at least have some type of shelter, but in wealthier countries, there's more of the lowest level you can be is still expensive. It's the lowest you can get is out of the price range for people that can't get out from the bottom.
Well, I think you hinted at zoning, which is, I think, check out New Urbanism, folks. I'm really into New Urbanism channels. Yeah, there's a lot of it is zoning. It's literally just the zoning is crappy and outdated. NIMBY, that's right. I'm going to make a video about NIMBY. I'm really motivated to, not in my backyard. You can, all right. I believe it's your turn, Kyle.
All right. This is going to probably cause some controversies, but as a just a devil's advocate here.
Oh, I love devil's advocate.
The Senate is an unnecessary middleman.
Oh, do I agree with that statement?
Yeah, just as a statement.
Oh,
based on how it kind of skews representation.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I think viewers of my channel kind of already know where I stand on this anyway. But I think I should make it clear that, yeah, I think the Senate, I think it's a good thing to have it there as one of the few things we can do to protect small states. I agree that, I mean, I live in a small state, so perhaps I'm biased on this, but I think that there is value in having a Senate and making it about the states themselves should have representation versus the people. There's philosophically, I think that makes a lot of sense, and also just practically. However, obviously we've seen a Senate throughout most of American history, actually, especially since the silent filibuster, which is really the past 100 years. So I made a video about this, but just not to go into it too much, but the filibuster makes it so that it doesn't take very many people to just stall things in the Senate. Yeah. And so bills get passed in the House of Representatives, but they don't get passed much in the Senate, mostly because of this stalling and because it's just so easy to shut the debate down and not even have it brought up to be possible to vote on a bill. The few bills that do get passed in the Senate tend to be these giant omnibus bills where every senator got at least one thing for their state. I got a military base, or I got a tax break for something that's going to affect my constituents in my state. That's going to help me get reelected. And so you have these monstrosities of bills. That's the only thing that gets passed. And so the system of just the Senate, I think, it needs to be reformed, in my opinion. I think the Senate should be probably ideally expanded eventually, but for now, we need to end the silent filibuster. The talking filibuster is just fine. I think that's actually kind of cool. That's the Mr. Smith Goes to Washington filibuster.
Yeah.
Get up there and just keep talking to delay the vote. But the silent filibuster is destroying the Senate. It's destroyed it for many, many years. They don't even have to show up.
Yeah.
They don't even have to show up. They can just stay at home.
A procedural filibuster.
Yeah, it's almost incredible that it still happened. I am surprised more people aren't outraged by it. There's so many people who are just like, oh yeah, that's just the way it is. I'm like, we can change things, right? We don't have to do things the same way. Anyway, I got another super chat here. You get me all worked up. Yes, they are. Malfunction 808. They are human beings. Thank you for that. Thank you for your support. All right. Do you have anything to say about the Senate before we move on to the last questions?
I was literally just a devil's advocate, because I mean, with the
Yeah.
state, when it was written that all states should have equal representation, the states were reasonably equal population. I mean, there's going to be some, Virginia, Massachusetts had more than Georgia, South Carolina, but it wasn't like California, Texas, Wyoming, Vermont. It was not that much. So I've always thought maybe should bigger states be split up, or I don't know.
All states combined.
These are more of a
Dakota.
again, just kind of a devil's advocate kind of thing. But
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it shouldn't be that radical. It really shouldn't. But yeah, like your vote in Tennessee is not worth as much as my vote in Kansas. My
Yeah.
vote is more, and so that goes against the Constitution, in my opinion. It goes against the 14th Amendment. You don't have the equal voice, equal opportunity to be heard. So yeah, the Constitution contradicts itself. Maybe we can get the Supreme Court to look at that, but they probably wouldn't look at that. Yeah. All right. Well, my last question is more lighthearted. So that's good. Is your last question heavy or lighthearted?
actually, I have more than 10 just in case
Oh,
there was one that got covered up. But it's lighthearted. Yeah, I'm not going to end it with a down.
homelessness. Yeah. Okay. Well, this is a lighthearted one. So, what are your travel goals?
Oh, honestly, to see as much as I possibly can. It's as simple as that. There's almost nowhere I wouldn't want to go. I was, relatively poor for a while, so it's just been the past decade where I've had enough money to really travel much, and we don't have kids. That helps a lot with that. So, but earlier this year, we went to Morocco, and that was our first big, or for me, my first big. My wife had traveled overseas, but my first big exotic kind of trip, and we loved it. We're going to go back again, but
Nice.
I have big trips coming up next month and in February. My first big solo exotic trip. I'm excited about that. But I want to just visit as much as I can. And usually the places I'm the least interested in visiting are somewhere like Rome or Athens or, really well-known places. I'd be more interested in, say, Kyrgyzstan or Oman, places that I don't know much about. So I'll never be able to visit everywhere. So I can learn a lot from not visiting certain places that have a lot of info, but certain other places I'll never know that much without going there. So, because I'm going to be in West Africa in February, so I'm going to be in a couple of places that are way off the beaten path. So I'm excited about that.
That's awesome. That's so cool. I want to go to Kenya a lot, or like really bad. And also randomly, after researching it, Somaliland. I did, I have a shout out to Fredo Rockwell, has a YouTube channel, has a lot of Somaliland videos. And then he's actually got to go there. He's like, hey, maybe I can hook you up with a trip to go there. Like, cause it's a really fascinating place.
Yeah. I mean, that's somewhere I would love to go too. There's almost nowhere I wouldn't want to go, but yeah, but those kind of places where you really just want to see it. Yeah. I mean,
well, yeah. So you wouldn't want to go to Rome?
Oh, I would. I know.
Okay.
I absolutely would. It's just more, I know I won't be able to visit everywhere. So
Yeah.
places that I know a lot about just from, vicariously, I would be less interested in seeing as opposed to somewhere I just don't know that much about.
Oh, yeah, makes sense.
But with that being said, if someone wants to pay for me to go to Rome, I'm going. I'll go right now.
See, my issue with a place like Rome or Paris or really a lot of even Shanghai, it's too crowded. There's too many tourists. When we were in London, man, there's too many Americans here. We got to get away from the Americans. And I ended up renting a car and was driving to the countryside to get away from all the Americans. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. What specific country are you gonna go to? Multiple countries, or
I'll be in Senegal and the Gambia. So
nice.
Senegal is kind of shaped like Pac-Man, and Gambia is that one that goes in there. So it's almost tough to visit Senegal without visiting Gambia. So
okay.
I speak French, so I want to hit the places that where I need to be able to speak French.
Oui.
And then work on Spanish after that and hit South America.
See. Ah, yes. Okay, that's awesome. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, what's? Oh yeah, so I'm sorry. Related to that though, I got to know. I just realized I never asked you this, but what's your favorite place you've ever visited? I don't think have you ever said this in a video? Your very favorite place you've been to ever?
Honestly, I don't know if I could say a single. That's tough.
Me, it's British Columbia, hands down. I love British Columbia.
I think from a nature standpoint, I would go with. I really like southeastern Utah, the national parks, but not off the beaten path areas.
Yeah.
But in terms of cities, we really did love Marrakesh, the Medinas in Morocco. Just that kind of just the labyrinth of 1,000-year, well, about 500, 600-year-old buildings, and yeah. So, but nature things for the most part will be the ones that stick with me the most. So, camping, national parks. I mean, Yellowstone is my favorite national park in terms of getting way off there and seeing some really cool geothermal formations.
Yeah. Speaking of which, the volcano in Iceland.
That's crazy. That's crazy. That's right where the people live too. That's serious stuff.
They evacuated a couple of towns.
Yeah, I mean, if it's as bad as if the worst predictions are the ones that come about, they're going to have to get rid of that town. They have to desert it essentially. They'll be destroyed. It's crazy.
Yeah, won't be able to come back.
I don't think that's happened in modern history. I try to think of a town that was completely destroyed by a volcano in modern history. I can't think of one.
I can't either.
It's a possibility if it's that bad. It's kind of like those Hawaii volcanoes. If it was near a town, if the town was right there.
Yeah. All right. Well, what's your last question?
All right. So my last one's going to be one of your first ones was for me. If you could move anywhere, say you had to move, you had to leave Kansas, and you couldn't live in a bordering state either, where would you go?
Oh yeah, I've said this before in another stream, but Virginia for sure. Like there's a lot of.
Yeah, you just say Charlottesville. You just say that's your.
Yeah. Well, I actually really like Blacksburg a lot. I like the whole Shenandoah Valley, like the Blue Ridge Mountains. That's my favorite part of the country. But also, it's like the combination of the natural beauty mixed with the history. Like I'm close. I can drive closely to Civil War historical sites, Revolutionary War sites. DC would be close by to. I mean, DC alone. I don't want to ever live in DC.
Yeah.
But it's my favorite place to visit is DC, in which probably viewers of my channel are not surprised at all to hear that. But I just love that part of the country so much. I think Virginia is the nicest state in many ways. And it's also a good mix too, like north and south. I know it's considered a southern state, but these days there's so many dang Yankees that came down.
Yeah. Well, for you, I mean, that's Virginia and Pennsylvania are the two states that have the most American history that isn't on the coast. There's actually a lot of old stuff that's would have been way inland back in those days. At Charlottesville, Blacksburg, Roanoke, that might as well have been a Kansas. It was so far from the coast back then.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it was. Well, the other thing too. I mean, unfortunately, a lot of Native American history has been lost. There's not a lot. I mean, there's the mounds that were left behind that you can see along the Mississippi River, the Cahokia. But as far as and then further out west, there's been some of that stuff has been preserved. But I hate to say this, but like throughout the Midwest, there's just not a lot of history that's preserved unless you go to inside museums. Here and there, just random objects, artifacts. But yeah, as far as like visiting, I love filming on site, the actual spot where like I've never been to a lot of Civil War sites, but I can't wait to kind of go to the Bloody Lane where the Battle of Antietam was. Like that was like probably single-handedly the most violent moment in American history and violent place in American history, all in one little spot. The Bloody Lane. I can't wait to make that video someday, but I can't. I mean, it's a ways to go, and I rather drive than fly. I hate flying, but I'll fly if I have to. but it'd be nice just to like, oh, I'm just going to take a 2-hour trip to film a video.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, family's here in Kansas. Got to be where the family is, you know. That's
Yeah.
Where's most of your family at?
They're all in California. My dad's side is
Oh.
in the northern. My mom's side's in the Central Valley.
Oh man. Well, you know, I'm kind of like, it's mostly my wife's side that likes a little bit closer to family. Like I could probably get away with moving to Alaska if I never
Yeah.
was married. I would probably be like a mountain guy with a big beard and living in.
That's how it is for us.
Fairbanks.
My wife is Southern, so she wants to be in the South.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, I'm sure you miss seeing your family though. Oh, most
Yeah, I
of
go out
them.
there. I go out there a couple times a year. That's one thing good
Oh,
about
yeah.
doing this. I can take a week off to go visit, so I'm taking advantage of being able to have extended time to travel other places. So I can see my family a couple times a year. I'll be out there in about a month or so.
And always turn it into a video while you're out there or on the way.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you so much for the super chats, the super sticker. Thank you. Chris, thank you so much for that generosity. And Chris says, big fan of you guys. Hope to see you guys do a GeoGuessr session part 2 against each other. You would probably dominate again. Maybe this time try inviting guys like Chicago.
Well, Chicago geographer, he would work us both pretty good.
Yeah. There are literally, I mean, that's the thing. That's like a whole new levels. There are literally just GeoGuessr YouTubers.
I met him. He's a really nerdy geographer too. He's studying at University of Chicago. So I met him when I was doing a video there. So he does GeoGuessr videos, but he's a hardcore geography nerd.
What about Rainbolt? I've never heard of Rainbolt before.
Yeah, I'm not sure who Rainbolt is.
We'll look him up. All right. And Isaac, thank you so much. Hey, that's okay. Thank you so much, Isaac. Just amazing that your generosity. Yeah, we have. It's only been a little over 2 hours, so you want to stick around for a few questions because I'm sure.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, yeah. So if you have any questions for the legendary King, Kyle from Geography King, please let us know in the chat. In the meantime, if you're not subscribed to Geography King, all you got to do is just search it up on YouTube, Geography King. It pops right up there. I've tried it, so don't you worry. Let's see here. Any questions? Let's see. A lot of just comments. Oh, kind words there. We appreciate that. Man, there's looking for questions. Maybe we are not going to get any. I'll give him a moment here.
Sorry.
Oh, favorite stretch of highway? Random Channel 101. What's your favorite stretch of highway?
For interstates, I would say I-70 from Denver to like the middle of Utah where it ends. It's just a really pretty drive. I think it's the prettiest interstate drive.
That was the last stretch built, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I learned that from Interstate Kyle. Subscribe to Interstate Kyle. Yeah. But I mean, I'm not a big fan of interstates, though. Like, let's be honest here. Like, interstates.
Yeah, I'm more of a side road kind of guy.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, the roads through southeastern Utah where I like it a lot is just a really beautiful drive without even having to stop and get out and hike if you don't want to.
Blue Ridge Parkway for me, maybe. What do you think of the Baltic states? Oh man, I have a video about the singing revolution, my favorite revolution in world history, where everyone just started holding hands and singing to stick it to the Soviets. I don't know. What have you been to the Baltic states or know anyone who's been?
No, but I'm sure right now they're glad they're part of NATO because they're kind of safe. Those other countries, Moldova, Belarus, they've basically been Soviet even after the breakup. But Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania can kind of like breathe a sigh of relief that they're basically safe because Armenia is probably going to be next, I would think. But yeah, so One thing I find interesting about the Baltics is just how strange the Estonian language is. It's kind of like Finnish. It's that one of those languages where it just you look at it's like, what is that? And no one knows really where it came from.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd love to visit there. Actually, I did a thing with Atlas Pro. It was a live quiz thing. We were on the same team, and it was to list the 10 coldest countries in the world in terms of its annual average temperature. And Estonia was the one that we missed. So we got 9 out of 10, missed that one.
Huh. Yeah, they're much wealthier countries than the ones you mentioned, like Moldova.
Oh yeah,
and like Bulgaria, because they're all landlocked. That's a big challenge. The landlocked countries are so dependent on Russia. We got a super chat here. Thank you, My Lazy Mood. What is the most interesting fact about Montana? I would say to me, like, just kind of, this is kind of lame, but the fact that it's mostly not mountains, it's mostly plains. That's usually my go-to interesting fact. It's like you think that as soon as you get it, mountains, no, it's just boring landscape for much of it, 2/3 of it. What about you? Can you top that?
I remember when I was in college, I was doing a lot of broadcast meteorology, and one of the things I remembered was that the smallest TV market in the entire country is Glendive, Montana. I think it's like 10,000 people that live in the entire TV, that range of your local TV network. So I thought it was Eastern Montana. It's just the largest stretch of just having one town that's 5,000 people would be the biggest one. Pretty random.
Wow. You beat me on that fact. You win.
Of course, that doesn't matter anymore. The TV market size doesn't have the same.
It doesn't have the same sway. Yeah, you're right. Sydney, thank you so much. Have you been through northwestern Minnesota? I drove through a few years back and liked it. Yeah, well, it's the same. The Boundary Waters area is further east, right? But northwestern is a little bit more, I would say. I've been straight north up to Winnipeg through Fargo, but I've never been in northwestern Minnesota, really. Yeah. It's probably less woods, right? It's probably more like, looks a little bit more like Iowa. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it is more. Is it all forest? I haven't been there.
It's fairly wooded. I was up there near the town of Warroad. I'm not sure if that's Warroad, and that's near the border. And that's where I crossed over. It was wooded, but nothing like northeast Minnesota, where it's dense woods. But it wasn't like southern Minnesota either, where it's just plains and fields.
Let's just pull it up on good old Google Maps. Let's see.
Yeah.
So I'll share the screen here. Sorry, I'm slow with this when I'm trying not to show personal information, but I'll probably get one. Oh yeah. Oh, these are horrible photos.
Oh, yeah.
Let's do street view. Yeah, that looks like Iowa to me.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, no, like it's a very clean area. North Dakota's this way too. Did you notice that? Like Minnesota, North Dakota, something about like there's no trash on the ground. Why is that? There's no like all the infrastructure is kept up really well. I don't know. It looks kind of boring though. Sorry. Yeah. All right. We're getting more questions. Wow. Thank you so much, everyone. Leviticus Prime, thank you. If you were forced to live anywhere other than the United States, where would it be?
For me, it'd be the Caribbean. I'd go to Grenada. That'd be my top choice.
Interesting. So tropical.
Yes.
I just have a lame answer. Canada, British Columbia. Yeah. That's probably what I would say. Sorry. That's a great question. I love it. Well, this is probably, I'm going to try to find one that's more geography related. So if you have just pure history related stuff, I'm probably going to skip over it. What is the most forgotten country per population? Oh, I always say Philippines and Indonesia are two countries that they're huge. Like Indonesia is the fourth most populated country in the world, but it doesn't get near the attention that the big three, China, India, United States get. What about you?
I mean, Vietnam has 100 million. Ethiopia has 100 million. Those are not, but other countries maybe like, trying to think like a smaller country that, I don't know. But yeah, some of the ones that are really big, that are bigger than you might be expecting. Like when Nigeria is pushing 200 million.
Ethiopia. I did a video on Ethiopia. It's over 100 million, I think. Most African countries. Anytime I make a video about African countries, it does not perform as well. And that's because North Americans don't watch those videos as much. I hate to say it, but that's just the facts. They don't. So learn your African geography, dadgummit.
Yeah, actually, I've posted 200 and some odd videos, and one of my lowest 3 or 4 is the one I have talking about African economies. Not a lot of interest in it, but I'll still do it.
Oh yeah, I still like to make them.
Actually, I see somebody said Bangladesh. That's actually might be the best one, because that's probably 150 million people, and you never hear much about Bangladesh except when they flood. You hear about the.
I'm such a dork that I'll go, like, the country that I check out Google Street View the most is Bangladesh, because I've always been so fascinated by the fact that there's so many people that are there. And just do Street View. There's not a lot of places on Street View that you can see, but maybe I'll get into it here. But anyway, Leviticus Prime says that their pick would be the places with the best climate. Obviously, Mediterranean climate is the win. That's the best climate. Let's all face it. You know which has a good Mediterranean climate that does not get enough attention is Southern Australia.
Yeah,
like Adelaide. Yeah. Adelaide has perfect climate. Perfect. It's a beautiful place, but hardly anyone knows about it. You want to do Bangladesh Street View?
Yeah, I'm not sure why Bangladesh is so well covered with Street View. I'm not sure if Google chose them as a country but they're very well covered by Street View.
Usually it's Dhaka. I just here, let me share the screen. Sorry. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to do that. Here we are, just random spot in Dhaka. People everywhere. Just people everywhere. Actually, this is a little bit more open here. Maybe I'll go down the side street. Got to find a side street first. But yeah,
getting a rickshaw traffic jam.
This is actually pretty chill for Bangladesh, for Dhaka. Yeah, just so many people. And actually, not as many high rises as you'd think. This is from March 2013, though. This is 10 years ago. They need to update their Google Street View.
Yeah, Bangladesh comes up a lot on GeoGuessr. Not sure exactly why, but it's
probably because folks like me are always looking at it. What are your thoughts about having states redrawn? I think it's a good idea. I think that we should have more states. In fact, I did a whole stream where there would be 100 hypothetical states, and it was based on cultural differences more than anything. But kind of random also at the same time. What about you, Kyle?
Yeah, I agree. I think, like I was alluding to before with the Senate, there's so much discrepancy between the biggest states and the smallest ones. I think the biggest ones they're too, like, for example, if you would have pulled New York City Metro, like that southern tip of New York, off of the rest of New York, it's just so weird that giant metro is barely hanging off the state, and it's still, that'd be the most obvious one for splitting in two. But yeah, I think with some states being so small, you couldn't really combine. There's been people say, "Oh, just combine the Dakotas, put those back together," but you can't recombine states. But you could, I think, break up other ones.
Yeah, I think California often gets brought up at the proposed state of Jefferson, but also the Greater Idaho movement, which I made a video about, where they're trying to actually just make Idaho bigger. I think is really more of the plan. Which, yeah, break them up. I agree with you. My Lazy Mood, thank you. If you had to, where would you live in Wyoming? For me, it would be Casper. I'm a big fan of Casper. We were in there. We were through there on our Oregon Trail trip, and I loved it there. Not a lot of people still, though, there. It's like the second biggest city, and I think it only has like 50,000 people, 60,000 people.
I kind of like Evanston in the southwest corner.
Oh, we were there too. Yeah, it's a kind of a hidden gem there. They got some cool sculptures there.
Yeah.
What was it? No, that wasn't Evanston. That was no, what was it? I'm sorry. I got to look at a map. Yeah.
Evanston has a lot of really cool murals.
No, the town I was thinking of was Rock Springs.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Rock Springs has the arts tunnel thing on it, like downtown. There's a little tunnel you can walk. Local people put art on there.
Was that Rock Springs?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We spent the night there, but I don't think we saw that. So not much in Wyoming. If the U.S. broke apart into smaller countries, what do you think they would look like? These are great questions. I think you want to answer this first?
I mean, I don't see the break. I think people have talked about, breaking up the country, like a new divorce, or people say things like that, but based on what lines? How would you draw the lines? You couldn't draw it based on old Civil War lines, because people in Atlanta or Houston or New Orleans weren't going to be going for that. And then if you put Idaho with the northern states, they wouldn't want that. So I don't see how it could even be done feasibly, because it's always with politics in mind, and you just can't. I don't think you can split any state up and say, everybody in the state now has to be in this country that has this ideology. But
yeah,
I certainly don't want to see it happen.
I made a video about this, and everything you said is exactly what I said in the video. Like, how would you do it? By the last presidential results, or the last Senate election results, or like the governor? And then I ended up doing it based on the last presidential, and the map looked like this. But look at how ridiculous that is.
Yeah.
It was just purely for fun exercise that is not rooted in reality at all. And then look at Georgia all by itself. That's based off the 2020 presidential election results. Yeah. Yeah, this map is ridiculous. Terrible, actually. Follow Terrible Maps on Twitter, too, if you're on that horrible platform. Some people call it X. I call it Twitter.
Yeah, I'm not on it. I have an account there, so if anybody says they're me, I can say no, they're not. But I don't ever use it.
Oh. Yeah, that's why you're so much happier than I am. I knew it.
Yeah, same with TikTok. I have an account, but I don't use it because there's been a problem with people on TikTok taking the names of people on YouTube that don't have a TikTok account.
Yes.
So I was like, well, I got to set up one just in case someone tries to impersonate me, to challenge them at least on that.
All right, we'll take a couple more questions. So thank you, Isaac. Opinions, just because I got to go to the bathroom. That's, to be honest, that's why the coffee I drank is getting to me. Isaac says, opinions about inner-city passenger railroads in America. Just finished a trip from Seattle to San Francisco last weekend. Well, they got that one that just opened up that between, what is it, Orlando and Miami, right?
Yeah, the Bright Line.
Yeah. I heard that's people were digging that. So I love it. I'm a big train guy. I think the more the merrier. I have been on Amtrak 3 times in my life, and it was I liked it way better than flying. I will tell you that much. And the thing I like the most about it is like, it's laid back and you don't have to. You have space. You can move around on the train. It's like you can get off the train at certain stops. It takes time. Yeah, I wish they were faster. I wish that we'd go in the direction of China more, where you have high speed rail more. But yeah, I'm all about the trains.
Yeah, I mean, for us, when we were in Morocco, getting around, they have high speed rail. They have the same.
Morocco has high speed
Morocco,
rail?
the same as the bullet trains in Japan and France, and
Holy
it made visiting it so much easier, and it was great. Little humbling to go to a poor country riding on these beautiful high speed rails, and we're struggling to get that here. But
yeah. What is the top speed of the bullet trains in China that they just opened up? And they're really quiet when you go inside.
the one that I think they about 320 kilometers an hour. I think 350.
Yeah, so I'm not good with the metric system.
We were on one that was going 320. Was the top speed of the one we were on.
Oh, oops. Here we go. Somebody has already beat me in the track. Oh, 217 miles an hour. That is crazy. Yeah, that's amazing. I love it. Okay, Leviticus Prime, thank you again. What do you think of the map chart map maker? Are you familiar with this, Kyle?
Yes. I think it's great. It's limited what you can do, but with a very limited knowledge of how to make maps, you can make something that looks pretty good. But if you are really good at making maps, you can't do a whole lot with it. But it's a great way to make. And you've probably seen maps like that
YouTubers, YouTubers
they're really easy to make, and you can use a
I've
large
heard of
color
this.
palette with it as well.
I need to actually start using this for my own videos because
Do you know Dave's Redistricting?
that sounds
I think
familiar.
you would like that one. It's because it's a map making, but you can mess around with congressional districts and
It's Dave's
Dave's Redistricting. Yeah, I use it for all kinds of stuff that's not even congressional stuff. It's just good maps.
Oh wow, no, I wasn't familiar with this one. All right, I'm bookmarking this one as well.
Yeah, it's meant for redistricting, but it's great for all kinds of other info. It's very detailed.
All right,
But map chart's free to use, and it's good if you want to make basic maps. It's a good website.
Nice. Just making sure we didn't get any more super chat. Okay, we're all caught up with that, so we're gonna wrap this up because, like I said, I have to go to the bathroom. I could probably talk to you for not just hours, but days, Kyle. I really enjoyed talking with you.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I can. I'm the same way. My live streams always go a long time, so yeah, it's a lot of fun. I appreciate you having me on.
Oh, my pleasure. And reminder, everyone watching or listening, check out Geography King on YouTube. Subscribe to his channel. I'm not sure how many subscribers you have, but dadgummit, you're doing it full time. Show the love to him. Really high quality geography videos, primarily the United States, but sometimes you look at other stuff too, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Little Canada. There'll be something on Senegal when I get back. So.
Oh, there you go. Nice. Yeah, have a great trip in Africa. I'm a little jealous I don't get to go with you.
Well, I'll send you some photos.
There we go. Yeah, I'll see what you post on Instagram too. All right. Well, everyone watching, listening, thank you so much. Thanks for all the super chats. Thanks to my Patreon supporters, and take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot, guys.